open the meeting at 9:09 p.m. Thank you for your attendance. Do we have anyone to confirm the minutes of ordinary meeting 26th of April 2023? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 26th of April 2023 be confirmed.
Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
9-0. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to 8.1, page 26.
Councillor McMullen's got a notice of motion.
We've got to wait till the end, haven't we?
You should.
Point 7 is consideration of notices of business.
Oh, okay, well, normally we're made to leave them till the finish. But okay, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move, add a notice without motion, please.
Right, please go ahead.
I'd like to move that we, the subject heading will be water for the Hodgson Cemetery.
Okay, please go ahead.
We've got to.
So we just need to move and second
That's-
that it
I've
actually
moved
be
it.
added to the agenda.
That's, sorry, that it be added to the agenda. Sorry.
McMullen, and just
We have
needs
a
a second.
seconder, Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
9-0.
So do you want me to move it now, Mr Mayor?
Well, we got the other one there too. Is it a notice of motion?
Just through the chair, it's on the agenda now and it will now form part of the agenda, and you would normally get to it from a procedural perspective at the end of the existing ordinary reports.
Right, thank you.
Right, okay. Right, we'll keep going then. 8.1, Micro Panel Administrative Guide Amendments. I'd like to move that Council 1 acknowledge OM/02.2022/28 and OM/10.2022/10 to amend the adopted Micro Panel Administrative Guide to broaden the procurement scope to facilitate the engagement of service providers for ad hoc, infrequent, unplanned, low-value minor works for all engagements, not only for roads but for general maintenance where value for money exists. Money options exist. Value for money options exist. Do we have a seconder?
Did you mean to leave out the $5,000?
No, I didn't mean to. So low value, $5,000, minor works for all engagement, not only for roads but for general maintenance where the value for money options exist. Do we have a seconder, Councillor McMullen? Any opposition?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
I understood when this was like for the roads because it was about them using their own equipment, mainly further out and being able to assist. I just want to ask through the CEO what this means now with our procurement that already exists. So say it's a building job or a plumbing job or I already thought that the directors had procurement capabilities to be able to use the local business. I just don't understand how this is going to fit into our existing procurement policy.
Look, Councillor Hancock, you're quite right. We have a minor works panel, so we still have access to people. But if you recall, in the budget, we actually allocated money in relation to this program as part of the budget process. And certainly the feedback coming through, and the Mayor's sort of proposed this, and on the other side, operationally, what we see is that we could have used this money this year and potentially next year in a more flexible way to do the work that needs to be done. I think the position that originally was taken in relation to the administrative guide is certainly made sense from a road making perspective to have a different approach for more remote work. But we're actually finding from an organisational perspective is that it's actually all work that needs to be done. We need an increased degree of flexibility, and we have a budget And this allows us to be, to flexibly use that budget and potentially, if council wants to allocate more money to micropanel in the future, continue to do that. Remembering it's a guide, but we were being conservative when we developed the guide. And what we're saying is this, if you broaden the guide, we'd certainly say to the Mayor, yes, they will actually make it more responsive for us.
So you say that there's money in the budget.
You've got
So
your
is there money attached in the budget called a micropanel administrative budget?
In your LRCI, I think actually, I can take the question on notice and get you specific detail back, but you did actually allocate very specific monies coming out of the LRCI program.
Yeah, but it would still be under road work,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
but
Like it's
was-
not
related
like,
to the guide, yes.
so therefore,
They talk to each other,
so therefore, I'm just trying to get my head around it
Yes,
and how
yeah.
it all will work.
yes.
So therefore, if we've got money in that for the roadworks, now you're suggesting that you could have used that money for somewhere else in the budget. Well, we put that in. That was about roadworks.
Yeah, it was.
Not about
But essentially,
parks and gardens or
I
plumbing
was-
or building.
no, and, but through the chair, could we have used that for footpaths? Could we have used that for, additional works in relation to amenity, et cetera? Could we have used that to complementary works beside roads? Yes, we could have. We didn't
So is
allocate
this
that.
for you about being able to access that money for other things, or is it about the fact that our procurement that we already have, well, it already gives that option for them to use, basically whoever they want anyway, under our procurement scheme? Like, I just don't understand
except
how,
for-
and I'm concerned
Yeah.
that we're not mucking up, I'm concerned that we're muddying what our procurement scheme is naturally. Like, I understood the road side because it was about people who've got graders or trucks can help assist do the roads. I'm trying to get my head around our procurement scheme within all other areas of council, how this might be
look,
muddying that.
And your micropanel administrative guide was also a streamlined approach. Now, as councillors would be aware, you've been doing a lot of work in relation to reviewing your procurement process, which is still yet to be finalised. Whilst you do have panels, there's still, in a very administration-heavy process from a procurement perspective. Could this guide be incorporated into future improvements in relation to overall procurement? Sure, you could do that. That work is yet to be finished, and this guide had been developed to be responsive to that roadwork specifically. What we're seeing is that actually we could have been responsive to a broader suite. And remember that council did debate that at the time. Should we? Could we? And so certainly you've got a notice of motion there that says I think we should. That's up to council to think about that. The reality is that what we do know from our current procurement processes, and having a briefing as recently as yesterday, every single panel process is too long, and the micro panel process is a very streamlined, nimble process which has minimal paperwork and is designed to reflect the risk in relation to the expenditure.
Could you give me an example of how this might be, how it might work if this goes through?
The obvious thing that I think of is if we had the broadening of that and you had associated footpaths or even associated, the thing that springs to mind is curb and channel, but it's probably not the right example. But there might be some kind of, small, tiny complementary program that really could be utilised. I don't have those examples in my head per se, but I would be saying footpaths, smaller town and surrounds improvements that are of a small capitalised nature that could be more advantageous for us to use that. And certainly happy to get my local area directors to give me some examples of that and provide those to councils.
Councillor Taylor?
Well, have you finished?
I was going to say, do you have being your report, Mr Mayor, do you have an example? So
Yeah, no,
just so I
I
can
would
understand.
have many examples. This would be the simplest way that council can actually, you can work for council. It's only a couple of pages. It could be, for instance, situations where there needs to be, a shed painted The painter might not be on the panel, but it's under the $5,000. It could be something, it could be picking up some pavers before someone else, before even council would do a job, and there was someone that they could give that project to. So it's a gateway into working for council. And when you tell people it's only a couple of pages to fill it out, and then, of course, when the value goes up, then they'll move on to other panels because it won't be in this panel. But they've actually been working for council and hopefully have a really good experience about it. Councillor Taylor? Well, we've got Councillor Taylor and then O'Neill and then Ladbrook.
So I'm on page 37 here where it says micro panel supply registration form. Is that what they're now going to fill out? Is that where you get your 2 pages from?
Yeah, the one that we've seen before at council.
So it's down to these 2 pages, well, front and back.
Yep, correct.
So do they have to have insurance?
Um,
Doesn't ask for it on the page.
no, but this has already been approved by council. All it is doing is broadening the scope. Like, for instance, we put in the original one that you couldn't do planned maintenance with the micro panel. So there's people that want to look after their low-value roads, and we can't do it. It's only ad hoc before. So now we're going to a broader.
But didn't they have to have their own public liability and their own insurance? and
I
all
would
that?
imagine that anyone working for council in some form would have that. So
So that's a different form altogether.
no, I would imagine that it would have been in their CEO in the original form. So
Yeah, look, through the chair, I think what we're confusing is the response form and any associated licences or appropriate certificates of currency. If the work that's being done needs those, they need to be a normal process by which we procure. But we had a very, I think our vendor panel process was something like 15 pages long, regardless of who you were for the organisation. And this was designed to be really, because it's expenditure under $5,000. So again, it's a risk-based process. But this is the response form. If you're required to have a licence, if you're required to have public liability, if you're required to have additional documentation, i.e. work health safety plan or something like that, that still applies. It's just that this is a response form. It's as easy as filling this out, working out
It
what...
says it's a registration form,
Yep.
not a response form.
Well, that's what, essentially that's what we're talking about, is that we're registering them into the scheme. We're actually making sure that we have minimal documentation in relation to that. But, there's still risk-based decisions where, if you're, for argument's sake, if you're doing a road work, you'll be checking the fact that they have a licence. You'll be checking the fact that they have public liability.
okay, Councillor O'Neill.
Yep.
I just wonder, can you give solid examples, Mayor, what triggered you to bring this back? Like,
I
who
think
has approached you?
I think that there could be, for instance, a mower person that may, for instance, it could be even a person in the community said, I'll mow these paddocks. I mow these paddocks for, I've been mowing them for council, but they might want to do it in, I had one situation where the person wanted fuel money for mowing. Well, this could be set up in a micro panel situation. It could be anything like that, and I think not to have it for maintenance is totally restrictive and not value for money for council. Okay, it was Councillor Ladbrook and then McMullen.
I just wonder what the process will be. So, say someone sees the pothole that needs to be fixed, will they ring the council or just come into council or see one of the directors?
So yeah,
Will he have a look at the job
And
to approve?
Yeah, so through the chair, our current process is that request would come into council. It might come in a various number of ways, but it would come into council and it would go to that local area. And that local area would, assess the process and determine what's necessary and when they can do it. And then,
Would they give
advise
us a
the
price
customer.
first? Would they give us a quote? Or
Look, it depends on whether it's the kind of work that council can do itself. Is, for argument's sake, if they're our roads and we're patching them and it's a process, we have a patching truck so we can respond to that. What's the schedule of works that's actually there? Quick, let's get that on the schedule. How urgent is it? How, is it a road safety issue? So it might bump up the list in relation to that.
Because I know a couple of people at Surat, they were very excited about it.
Yes.
Some of the property owners.
Okay.
Yes, and just listening to what the Mayor has said in relation to painting and pavers and footpaths and mowing, you have had a range of complaints in relation to that small level contractor stuff where this broadening could, certainly be applied if necessary.
Okay, councillor McMullen?
Mr Mayor, I thought this was originally brought in too, was because so that staff didn't have to go and get quotes for 3 quotes, because I think originally we only had up to 3,000 in our original
Procurement policy.
procurement policy from memory. That was last term, I think we brought that in, but yeah, I'm just looking here. There's a section here, I think that, oh, that's for the officers, no, but the attached, all the things are attached to the
Yep. And through the chair,
report,
we've
all
just
the
used the
terms and
same,
conditions.
through the chair, we've just used the same
Exactly
paperwork
the
that you
same
had
for the-
originally.
For the road one.
Yeah, just simply because that was the guide you approved, so you could see where it had been. But essentially,
Mr. Chair,
nothing's changed in relation to the legislation, and it is risk-based legislation. And where council was having issues, if you recall, was having a streamlined process to respond to those risk-based decisions, but also to add increased flexibility to be delivering on those issues that council had seen and fielded so many complaints on over the last X number of years. So essentially, your micro panel is still a risk-based process. Under $5,000 is council can go and procure, and agreed there's been some history and you worked significantly on your procurement policy last year. In relation to that, you're still working on it. But again, this process was designed to be streamlined, flexible, but you had limited it. You had narrowed the scope because you were concerned, amongst other things, of the potential for current panel members in other minor works to be thinking that we would have a process where we'd go around our normal panel process. It's designed to be responsive. We have supplier issues across the region, and listening to what the Mayor said around painting or pavers or footpaths or mowing, under $5,000, if you're expanding that process, we certainly could utilise it.
Councillor Hancock?
Mr.
Oh, sorry, councillor Burkett, then Hancock.
Mr. Mayor, the examples I'd give, well, first of all, if you're working for a government as a contractor, you've got to have your public liability and your certificate of currency, and they check that regularly, and they'll ring you and say, look, it's nearly out or whatever. You get an email, so that's all covered before all this. For an example, similar to the roadworks emergency, if there's a culvert covered in silt and the landowner gets it, a contractor might be on the council, but they might be at one end of their area, like in Mungalala, and there could be an issue in Mitchell or in Amby. So the director's someone's put a CR in on whatever the job is. I can't say in case it causes a conflict, but common sense prevails. The director looks at his list and goes, right, I'll get on to Joe Blow. He'll sort that, make it safe, bang, move on. That's what it's all about in my eyes, I think.
Okay, councillor Hancock?
Madam CEO, can you tell me what is the process now for jobs? Like, what's happening now for these jobs that are under $5,000?
Through the chair, I just have to have a look at our procurement policy, but basically you don't need 3 quotes.
You seek 3 quotes.
Not for under $5,000 though.
Yeah, not for under $5,000.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a risk-based process in the legislation, so under $5,000 we have the ability to go and procure through panels, etc.
But you could
But those panels, as advised before, were still paper heavy. They were still a bureaucratic process, which we're still working on.
So under $5,000, you still got to pick Because haven't we got pre-qualified suppliers?
Yeah, we do. We do have minor works panel, but remembering when we brought through the micro panel, we're responding to a number of things. Additional streamlining and also ease of access based on feedback that we're getting from across the region around cohorts, right? And certainly even in our procurement analysis, we would say that there are people with different levels of digital literacy that find the panel process that we've got to be okay. And then we've also got feedback even through that procurement analysis process around, yes, but if you're doing small stuff, working for council can often be onerous, more onerous than it is to do a quick, responsive job. And coming out of that process was this guide and process which is streamlined and responsive. And, you know, this report, seeing one of the aspects that's different to even those initial ideas in relation to a guide is that the potential to increase the flexibility is certainly gives operationally staff a little bit more flexibility. Why? Because it's a streamlined procurement process where you're registering somebody with minimal paperwork, which, to be frank, could be done anytime we want to revise our procurement processes.
They have to provide quotes under this. Will
No,
they have to provide?
no,
So
remember-
basically, they can just go and do.
Yep.
The director can pick up the
They're
phone.
your legislation's risk-based.
Yeah.
Is,
So they won't have to provide a quote before the job.
No, they can go and procure. You know, there's a degree of transparency. It's designed to be flexible. Our process isn't flexible, but it is. The legislation's designed to respond to that. But there's also a gateway aspect here in the report, which is saying you've also had feedback throughout your even your procurement consultation is that council's not easy to work for. So how do you actively encourage new people to come and register with council and form a relationship that isn't onerous? Remembering that, again, it's a risk-based decision. Small jobs, small things, responsiveness. And whilst the panels are good, they're not comprehensive. And one of the things we'll be doing as part of the procurement process is getting an upper understanding about what we have panels for and what's missing in those panels. But this is micro. It's designed to be flexible.
Councillor Guthrie.
Mr Mayor, would you be open to an amendment for this particular motion? And I'm thinking in terms of a third paragraph that says something like timetable a review of the micro panel processes, because we listened yesterday to Michael Worthington who said to us a review had been undertaken and he got feedback from those that were part of it. I think it would be great that in a 12-month period, or we set a date, that we then go back and say, how successful was this? Is there anything that needs to be tweaked? Did we get it right? And just making sure that it's then being reviewed with the aim of value adding and getting it all input in from all of the parties. Because I think it will work, but it's just hopefully getting feedback that it did work, and if it didn't, well then it would need to be tweaked a little bit.
So,
12 or 18 months.
And if that was to timetable a review of micro panel process, what, within 12 months or by June
I'm only just randomly
2024?
going 12 months. I mean, I'm just asking if
Yeah,
Mr
12
Mayor would
months,
be
Yeah.
prepared to put another paragraph in that just says timetable a review of the micro panel the guide or something like that there, or seek feedback from those who then have been part of the process
Yeah.
to get an indication of how easy it was, whether it did solve the problem that we're seeking to have solved, or any feedback that they could give how to make it better.
Councillor McMahon, did you have a question?
Mr Mayor, I'm just reading while we're sitting, or if different people are talking. That resolution OM, it's on page 27. That was the last resolution, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that, in my opinion, that covers what you're asking for anyway.
Yes, but when we, through the chair, looking at the guide though, it's quite prescriptive, and I think.
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay.
Doesn't allow for maintenance work to be done?
Oh, okay, because
Specifically says not.
That resolution doesn't actually tie it just to roadworks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so,
I've got another question.
yeah, please
So
go
in the
ahead.
example that you have used about painting a shed, that's a qualified painter,
Licence payment.
a licensed painter. That's not someone that does painting for a hobby that sees an opportunity because they own a paintbrush that they could do the job.
Look, Through the chair, what I would say is that that's not necessarily so in relation to painting, but I understand where you're coming from is it depends on whether their licence works or not. But if, say, for argument's sake, they can work under anybody with the appropriate licence. You might have a builder on site that might be doing stuff, and then you say, oh, look, there's a shed right beside that, but gee whiz, it's not in the budget. You know, we'd like to get some additional painting services. There's many ways to procure small amounts, but whilst there are licences...
Because the genesis for this was small works on roads where rural landowners own the equipment and they contact council to say, hey, this is what needs to happen, and this gives them sign-off to be able to do that. I'm trying to replicate in my mind how that's going to work on maintenance issues. Right.
I never said.
I thought I'd give an example, a perfect example for that. Before, I think we need to move on because we're talking about. You give an example of a trade situation. That's a qualified person, as opposed to the painting one. And the mayor's given one about mowing. I think we've ticked all the boxes.
Okay, Councillor.
Yeah, Mr. I was just going to say,
Rude.
no, well, it's truthful though.
No, but
It's if anyone
need to understand it though, Councillor.
if you can't get on the panel without being qualified, being registered, you can't. So if you're not on the, if you're not a licensed painter, you don't get on the panel, do you?
Well, I'm understanding that now. If that's what you're telling me,
We've been through it all before.
but Councillor McMullen, if I own a bobcat, right, on my property or a grader, do I have to have a licence to be able to
You
do
have to
that?
have all the licences, yeah, and still have to have all your $20 million, whatever it was, like public liability.
I get the insurance side. What licences do I need?
You got to have your ticket,
Okay.
On your own property.
big pardon?
On your own property.
Yeah, technically, but to come to outside to do for council work, technically you're supposed to have it, but not anyone have it.
There's the point though, Councillor McMullen. Technically, you've got to. So, are we letting people that don't have a licence to use their equipment on roads?
Well,
'Cause
I don't see
technically
the
they-
application. The application clearly says to provide your tickets. So I don't see.
Yeah,
We don't see.
I don't see that.
No,
No, and look,
Operational.
that's right.
and through the chair, we manage our
But equally
our
on the mower,
implementation.
I own a mower. I own a ride-on mower. I don't have a ticket
No,
for that.
no.
So how, in that example, how are we making sure? Hey,
No tickets to ride a mower.
no, I know, I get that. So how are we making sure that people are qualified and licensed to be able to do it?
Well, the reality,
I think we're just.
Yeah,
I think we need to
overcomplicated
get on to
5,000.
the debate. One thing I would like to put, I'm happy to accept the amendment. Is the seconder
Yeah, I'm
happy
happy
with
with
that amendment?
To review it all.
Review in 12 months? Just put within 12 months or at 12 months. Give it a bit of time. Also, I'd like to add another point. So if that's 3, then point 4 would be support be given to help navigate the beacon system inside council, because I've had feedback that's a nightmare for people trying to get onto the micro panel.
So you still have to go through Beacon to get onto the micro panel?
Yeah.
No, they just have to do an induction, but at the same point is it's still an online platform, and as we know
Can you just, like, we might need to confirm that, because as soon as you said that, I'm thinking we need to go, it sounds like a Beacon, like the tender out there, but it's actually about the...
No, there's some paperwork
It's
that
about the online
yeah, online. So, and because,
induction, yeah.
is the seconder happy with that? Yep. Okay, we're going to go into debate. I'm going to talk about this. You know, I got onto council to try and get better roads, more efficient use of ratepayers' resources and council resources. This delivers in spades. You know, I constantly, people are frustrated sometimes why they can't do it, low value works for council. There are situations where we are getting thousands of dollars in value and they ask for something small, and there is no way that we can get them into the system unless we get them to get on one of our panels, which happens every 6 or 12 months. This is a simple way of getting people a gateway into small value works. If it works well, obviously from an officer's side, they will use them again, and if they grow past the micro panel, they will move into the other panels as what has to happen as far as procurement. But this is an opportunity to actually get people in the door, because I am constantly told that council is hard to work for. It is a nightmare to work for. So broadening the micro panel could be used for anything. And as far as risk, we've got directors, very senior staff, deciding whether they want to work with people. Even if they don't get a quote, they would get an hourly rate, and they probably get an estimate on how long it would take. So, you know, these things are just common sense things. But if you put paperwork in front of people, you will have a situation that the community will pay more for the service, and that's appropriate if we're dealing with large amounts of money. But if we're dealing with very small amounts of money, sometimes this would be something that we're going back to the past where, you know, people used to work for council, and now the stories I've heard in the past from people was that people are going out there and doing works with no approval because they're so frustrated at our roads. So they're the sort of stories you hear on the grapevine. This is actually far more about getting it in a process to reduce risk for council. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion?
I've got another question.
Please go ahead.
Through the Mayor, CEO, how much did we allocate to this in the budget?
Through the chair, I have to take that question on notice. I actually thought it was a relatively large figure. I thought it was as much as $1.6 million over the whole region, but I'm happy to confirm.
Yeah, 1.5 I think it was.
How much has been expended?
Through the chair, I'd have to take that question on notice, yep.
Okay, so does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? For it or against it?
I'll speak for, Mr Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Look, our director's in charge of $1 million budgets, so $5,000 allocations would be pretty cruisy sort of stuff for them to work out. But a couple of examples, like if our welder's off sick, and we've only got the one in any of our workshops, and there needs to be a small fabrication done or a repair to a machine, that's a perfect example where we could use the local micro panel. Same as I mentioned before, tradies out of town, and tradies out of town, so you can use another tradies and for an emergency situation like that. So I think these will work efficiently and make the place a bit more efficient. So I think it's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against or for? Councillor Guthrie.
I just would like to say that if it's low value, $5,000 minor works, I would be very, very happy to see us move towards introducing this. And the amendment that I suggested was, if we aren't completely right, we review it in 12 months' time, get feedback, and then make sure we tweak it so it does actually work. So I think there's an opportunity for the next 12 months to get out, get it going, and then review how successful it's been.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. Yeah, the micro panel is about approximately 2 pages to sign up for council. This, I believe, is a gateway into working for council. There is things that happen quickly that are not outside our normal panel timeframes and heavy on paperwork. So this is a welcome to council and get more people working for council for the benefit of our residents. And on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
All those against? 8-1 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on.
48.
Righto, so 48, monthly financial report as at the 31st of March 2023. Do we have any questions? Councillor Taylor.
If I could just ask the director, I'm on page 49. Material and services, energy sector maintenance work 441K not budgeted. Can I ask what that was?
I'd actually have to take that one on notice, so I'll have to come back to you on that.
Down the bottom of the page.
Yeah, but
I did pick that up this morning. My accountant's actually away today, so I have to confirm with her when she's back. I'll come back to you shortly.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr Mayor, can I
Please go ahead.
my understanding is because it's both external works.
Yeah, through the chair, I can confirm that
Yeah,
too. I'll
they're
just
both external
certainly
monies.
ask Cindy for that.
That's all
Yeah, it's to do with those voluntary agreements.
RMPC.
The
we get-
infrastructure
we get money
agreements,
for
yeah.
RMPC and we get money from the
But
resource
we'll,
sector, energy sector.
Yep, I'll just.
Another question.
Councillor Taylor?
On page 54, under support grant down the bottom, we received the $30,000 for the SES vehicle. Is that what that's saying?
Oh, that's correct. I think this one actually was raised quite some time ago, if I remember right. I think there was some discussion previously about that.
So are we getting the vehicle?
54.
My understanding is I believe we've already got it, but I will be able to confirm that with the fleet manager.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have a mover?
I've got a question.
Go ahead, councillor O'Neill.
To the chair, Eric, what's in the materials and services over budget due in part to annual insurance premium payment to QLGM?
Yeah, so what we do is, understand the question, thank you for that. What happens is we, from a budgeting perspective, we don't actually phase it. We just put it in as a particular amount. The same for when we actually receive when we physically pay the money. So there's a timing difference between when the amount is recognised and how we actually budget it. So it's basically a timing difference.
But substantial.
Yes. So if we pay $1 million, we'll recognise that in the 1 month, whereas it's phased over a particular period of time over the budget. There's a large difference between what that 1 month adjustment is.
And the next line with the finance costs, 2.6 million for rate debtor.
Yeah, so that's a provision. That's a paper transaction. We're working hard on recovering those particular monies. I think we've already had a discussion around that, but that's a prudent action to take in particular to a specific amount, and that's our estimate at this particular point in time.
Also, just so I'm clear, the 2.6 is the rates left owing.
Yes.
Yes. Provision, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? We have a mover. I'll move that council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of March 2023. We have a seconder, councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you.
Uh, 11.2, Revenue Policy 2023-24. I move that this lay on the table till the next meeting of council to receive
Legal
advice.
Yeah, further advice.
All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, page 80. Mm-hmm. 12.1, Roma Hospital parking, assessment of angle parking in McDowall Street. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I would like to move that council, one, note the concerns raised with cars parking across or within close proximity of property driveways on the freehold lots opposite the Roma Hospital site. 2, approve the line marking of parallel parking, A, on the northern side of McDowall Street between Curry Street and the exit point of the Roma Hospital, and B, on the southern side of McDowall Street in front of the freehold lots opposite the Roma Hospital site. 3, prepare a design solution for the northern side of McDowall Street in front of the Roma Hospital site that aims to retain the maximum number of 60-degree reverse angle parks without the need for cars to be parking on the verge. 4, notify the residents opposite the Roma Hospital site and the Queensland Police Service of the changes being implemented on the on-street parking arrangements in the area. That it, Kel, is it?
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks.
Surat Water Treatment Project. We have a mover, Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 endorse an amendment to the Capital Works budget 2022 to 2023 and include a new project, Surat Water Intake Renewal Project. 2, transfer funding of $30,000 ex-GST from work orders 22220/22815 to a new work order to commence the project immediately prior to 30 June 2023.
Yeah, we have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just want to say how, obviously I don't need to tell you, councillors, how important this is for our Surat community to secure that water. It has been an issue, and it's been an issue for quite some time. It's just getting worse and worse, and it is disrupting our water supply in Surat and putting our whole town at risk. And so thank you for bringing it forward.
Councillor Taylor.
Just a really quick question. It says to a new work order. Do we need that number?
I would think that it'll be developed, won't it?
Just through the chair, I thought, and I'm not sure what you're looking at, that we did actually quote the work order number.
So that's where it's coming from.
That's where it's coming from.
22220. Yes, and it's transferring from, through the chair, 22220 to 22815.
Yep, that's correct. CEO.
Oh, is it going from there to
It's within the
that?
existing budget-free framework, so we're just moving the
I
money.
might change that. Transfer funding of 30,000 from work orders number 22220 to
WR.
22815.
Makes sense.
And maybe in brackets, can we just put a new work order number and then to commence the project immediately prior?
Okay.
Would you be happy with that, Councillor McMullen?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's the motion then. Now, does someone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll speak to the motion. I'd like to congratulate the Waroo director for actually cleaning up some of these historical issues. So thank you for the work that you're doing with your staff and getting on top of things that have happened for a long time. And you know, it's an obvious benefit of having a local boss in an area, breaking up such a large council into some areas that can be managed. So congratulations bringing this report forward, and also for the staff that work with you. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 95.
Page 95, 14.1, applications for community grants, round 2, 2023/2022/23.
That's right. No, I don't know whether anyone's got any conflicts to declare.
Okay. Do we have any conflicts, councillors? Okay, and do we have any questions, or do we have a mover? No, we got a councillor Guthrie.
Oh, there's a question first.
Got a question.
Please go ahead.
Just in relation to, on page 100, one of the unsuccessful applicants was Begonia Sports Club. It says in the comments that encouraged to resubmit applications in quotes from Maranoa businesses. Why would we put that in there? And is that implying that one of the reasons they were unsuccessful is they didn't get quotes from Maranoa businesses?
Where was this?
I'm
Yeah,
happy
through
to
the chair, page
respond.
100.
I'm happy to respond. The reason they were unsuccessful was we were oversubscribed.
Yes.
So that was not the reason why they weren't successful. That was just a commentary that we put down as feedback. But the reason they weren't successful was the money had run out.
I just wonder, is it counterproductive having that in there? I get the intent. I mean,
Yep.
we do want to support our local businesses, but to the best of my knowledge, and I had a look at the application form, it isn't a prerequisite to use local businesses. And if it is, we should make that very clear in the application process. But I just would hate to think that group would think that they were unsuccessful for any reason, that it meant that they were getting quotes from outside Maranoa.
So through the chair, as you know, it's an open report, so it's already in the public arena. You could move a motion with just, outlining that you remove, with amendments.
And
It's already out
could we,
there though, isn't it?
could we also just amend their name to Begonia Golf and Sports Club?
Oh, yes,
Rather
through the
than
chair.
Gold and
It's
Sports
typo.
Club,
Yep,
please?
yep.
Okay, do we have someone to move on
Like,
this, Council?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, just with that Begonia, I just think it's a little bit hard because of where they're situated and, for them to getting their quotes, they obviously do use, some St George people, which probably make it a bit cheaper for the travel to install it, is the tricky thing. It's why I would probably also caution having that sent out as a recommendation on the basis of their application.
But it's not a recommendation, is it?
Well,
I
it
just-
is,
that
it's
will
in
go
the
back to
comments,
them.
It
and
is a
so it's the
public
first
report,
time that
so
I've
if you wanna
seen these
adjust it.
comments in, so it will go back to them like that.
So through the chair, your resolution could say, endorse the recommendations that it be with the removal of additional comments in relation to Begonia Golf and Sports Club Incorporated. If there's anything else you want to remove in relation to that, you can. That just helps us adjust the report.
Okay, Councillor Guthrie, were you going to move this?
I'm happy to. I'd like to move that Council 1 endorse the recommendations of the assessment panel and remove the commentary attached to the application,
Kelly's got it there, Councillor Guthrie.
oh, sorry, in relation to the Begonia Golf and Sports Club, Inc. 2, approve the following community grant applications for payment. Wallumbilla Community Men's Shed Incorporated, the purchase of a Zip hot water system to the value of $645.44. Surat State School Parents and Citizens Association, Let's Resource the Prep Kids, $1,140. The Muckadilla Community Association, the Frank Ford Plaque, $1,373. The Surat Local Ambulance Committee, Surat Christmas Street Party, $1,400. The Noongar Community Association, Physical and Mental Exercise and Social Engagement for Rural Women, $2,390. Remapping Mitchell, River Talk, Stories by the River, $2,400. Live Christian Church Roma, Musicians Workshop Reaching Out and Supporting Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, $2,569. The Injune Kindergarten Association Incorporated, Children's Safety Fencing and Painting, $2,800. And the Roma U3A Incorporated Indoor Bowls Equipment, $3,000, which is a total for the Senex small grants of $17,717.44. For the community grants, Injune and District Men's Shed Incorporated, the upgrading of the Injune and District Men's Shed Meeting Room, $4,500. And with the major grants, the Southwest Drag Association, the purchase of a Honda utility vehicle and spray rig to the value of $7,500. And the Bringa Action Group, the Bringa Festival, $5,000. A total in the major grants of $12,500, and the overall total was $34,717.44.
Now, Councillor Guthrie, did you want to, since you're making that change, put in there to correct the name spelling?
We did, I think, because we've actually changed it in number 1 and made it Begonia Golf and Sports Inc.
No.
So maybe I could say remove the additional comments and clarify the name
And correct.
and correct the name in relation to the Begonia Golf and Sports Club Inc.
In the report, eh?
Yeah, in the report. Mhm.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Guthrie.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just with regard to the comments made before, I do want to say that there were 16 applications that were received. 12 of those received recommendations for either full or part funding, and the problem was that we were oversubscribed. It was our second round, which limited how much money was available to allocate. So hopefully everybody has been successful to some extent, and those that weren't, I would encourage them to perhaps resubmit for the next round.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
Yeah. 103? Yeah, it's got to.
103?
Yeah, I got it.
Discussion's on. Yep, certainly is. Should be in clause 10, but I'll check that for you. Yeah.
Okay, item 14.2, Sculptures Outback Future Planning. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 receive and note the letter. 2, consider a budget allocation of $15,000 for a conceptual plan of the site with no commitment or expenditure until a future council briefing. And 3, the matter is referred to a council briefing with more plans provided.
Second, Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I actually am excited about this project. I think that that a long-term vision of a sculpture park does align with our council's arts and cultures and tourism plans. I think that area is in desperate need of having an uplift. Our Sculpture of the Outback is getting more and more well known, and so we have so many people stopping there, and I actually am really excited about this project and congratulate the committee for writing to council and bringing it forward, and really look forward to working with them into the future with this project.
Okay, very good. Now, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. Yeah, certainly support future planning. Yeah, it's been wonderful, the feedback, and really actually see the amount of visitation of the sculptures. They were even visited on dark, people with headlights just going through them, just looking at them. So it's wonderful to see that much utilisation of the sculptures, and congratulate the volunteers from the gallery subcommittee that are on there, and it's really a credit to the Maranoa, and anything we can do to help, I'll be supporting. Okay, does anyone wish else to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll be supporting this, and I think their initial vision is maturing, and I've had many conversations with Ian. I congratulate Ian, Nan, and the whole committee that have worked to get the Sculptures Outback to where they are. I think tying it into the works that we've gone to great lengths in developing in terms of the big rig will be wonderful to see those assets being joined together and building off one another. We're a major centre, but we need attractions to ensure that our visitors are making the decision to spend a night in our community and stimulating our local economy. And I think if we can offer that through a coordinated approach in terms of the Sculptors Outback being a central part of that, then we should back it and look forward to the briefing.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Councillor Burkett? All those against? Or which way are you, Councillor Burkett?
I'm for.
Righto,
Okay, 9-0.
okay. 9-0, thank you. Okay, council officers supporting volunteering organisations. I'd like to move that council receive and note the report and that amount of $25,000 be considered for the 23-24 budget to start a process of support for community groups needing assistance, organisational assistance to do support for, how would you say it, CEO, as far as running the paperwork side of an organisation?
Through the chair, we call that secretariat support in relation to committees.
Yeah.
Simply because the aim of that is that developing the agenda, doing the minutes, that kind of stuff. Administrative can be too broad.
Right.
So
Needing a system for secretarial assistance, yeah. Okay, do we have a seconder for that?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that we lay this on the table for a future briefing on this because I think there's a lot to unpack.
Righto, all those in favour?
Yes.
Against.
9-0. Okay, moving on. (14.4) Roma Butter Factory asbestos removal update. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that council receive and note the report to allocate $25,000 from work order 22900 and $3,000 from work order 22922 to the capital works budget of 2022-23 to pay for the asbestos removal.
Okay, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
Could I have a question?
Please go ahead.
In the resolution above that, in 2, it says approve 28,000 from available capital works. Did we do that?
yes, and
So
through
this
the
is
chair,
extra?
and through the chair, this was the last element of that resolution. So this fully enacts that resolution. There was
So is
a
it the
report.
28 plus?
No, it's the same 28.
Oh, it's the same one?
Just correcting it.
Exactly,
Oh,
and,
you're correcting
and
the
that
amount?
part of the resolution
Now, the
that
work
hadn't
order,
been
where
enacted
it's
was the
coming from.
report to
Oh,
council.
okay.
Yeah.
Right, thank you, sorry.
Yes, no, it's all right.
Oh,
Ask
yeah,
the
that
same
makes,
question.
that makes,
Okay, does the move wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, Mr Mayor, I think it's actually good to see that the project's actually finished and it's been a real big improvement to the facility down there, not having that asbestos hanging over their heads, so to speak.
Literally.
I have a
Okay,
question.
Councillor Hancock.
Thanks for clarifying that we had to find where the money is coming from. And I understand it's really hard to find where money is coming from. I just have a bit of a concern that we're pulling it from savings from Bassett Park. Because there's stuff that needs to be done at Bassett Park, but this is a savings from projects, I guess, not maintenance, not actually the Bassett Park budget as such. It's just actually a savings from projects.
Yeah, that's correct, Councillor. They were whilst the projects were at Bassett Park, they were capital works projects and there was savings made from those two. And then in accordance with the previous council resolution to find savings across the organisation. They were the two projects we were able to identify. You will note though that the full savings from those two projects, I think in round numbers there's still about a $15,000 of savings yet to be allocated.
Okay.
I have views about where that might be, but we'll give some thought to that. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. Actually, what a wonderful scenario. The Rome Historical Precincts Incorporated upgrading a council asset, at a fraction of the cost of what council seems to cost to do anything, and a better resource in the long run and saving history. So I think this is a win-win all the way round, and congratulate the group on all the works they've done. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr.
We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0.
And then page 122.
14.5, Arthur Street Roma amenities update. Do we have?
Question?
Please go ahead.
Just in here it says, in addition, CCTV cameras have been installed and signage replaced. Where does that money come from?
I'd have to follow up, to be honest, Councillor. I know that our ICT branch, as part of those cameras, they were deployed. The actual budget allocation, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hancock.
Oh, so I have a question. I just note the resolution above that it says that a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting about the possible ventilation options at Arthur Street Roma amenity block to address the odour and airflow issues within the building. I'm assuming this is the report, but part of this report is also that we've already gone and done stuff.
Correct, yes.
So just with the two questions I have is, how many breeze blocks are we putting in? Because it gets pretty cold in winter. So how many? And have we got any data to say that, that is going to make... Have we looked at other facilities to make sure that that is the answer to that facility without causing another problem?
Yeah. In relation to your question about how many breeze blocks, I'd need to just check with the contractor of what we had planned, because it's been a while since I've spoken to them. With respect to the effectiveness or the way in which that would operate, is that I think we've had a comment even within here in relation to, we increased some cleaning times around for Easter in the country, and the cleaning products at the time when we walked in there was that they were still, there was still a strong odour around from the cleaning point of view, and so the intent was about improving that ventilation in those areas to remove that. Insofar as have I gone and looked at other places across the board, other than to say that many public toilets that I see have some form of either breeze block or there's a break in relation to the wall to the top of the ceiling. Yep. So there's a natural flow, and that's the intent there, rather than some sort of artificial or electrical generated one, in addition to the whirlybirds.
Yeah, sure. My next one is, we've put CCTV cameras where?
On the outside of the building.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's of
And
many.
have we got signage up?
Yes.
Do we need,
Yeah. The whirlybirds were all damaged. That's from people climbing up onto the building and kicking them in addition to people vandalising the toilets inside. And so certainly the feedback that we know through the police and our staff having to repair or replace stuff is that seemed to congregate a lot of people doing those things. So that was the deployment of those cameras was one of the first locations that was identified.
Sure. Thank you.
Councillor O'Neill.
Through the chair, the cleaning appears to be working. I used the facilities in the last week or something, and I made a note to see how dirty and smelly they weren't. But I did see that we already have vents at just below the roof line.
Yes.
So with the increased cleaning, do we actually need the breezeway Besset bricks? That'll be a question. And my other point, Mayor, probably the CEO is a governance one. Money shouldn't have been expended on this until it came back to council, given that was the resolution. And I would assume if we are putting the Besset bricks in, that is a capital improvement, not a maintenance improvement on the facility, and therefore it needs to be budgeted for, and we need to find that money through a council meeting.
Not necessarily through the chair, the cameras have been installed since February. So they've been there for quite some time. I'm happy to take it on notice and just go back and see how we paid for those. We probably paid for them out of existing maintenance budget. That's an operational decision. We're happy to do that. We also have to have a job as government to respond to emerging issues and issues in relation to the damage on the infrastructure. So happy to take that on notice, get more information and circulate that to councillors.
Yeah, through the chair, I didn't mention the CCTV cameras. It was the Besset bricks would be a capital improvement. They haven't happened yet. They're scheduled to happen, and there's no budget.
Yeah, through the chair, really will depend on cost. Is we make a decision around whether we think it's a capital item or not. So, but happy to bring that information back to you.
And the point around that a report be prepared for upcoming council meeting possible solutions.
Look, through the chair, I know that this issue has been a matter of briefings, etc., over the time since last year and before. So again, happy to have a look at the trail of those conversations.
Yeah, just as upcoming council meeting is all.
And Councillor, I appreciate your comment. I was cognizant about that. In relation to the whirlybirds, that was a decision I made at the time leading up to Easter in the country.
Well,
they
that'd
were
be maintenance, wouldn't it?
completely damaged. I just went and got them
maintenance.
done. And it was just value adding and trying to bring the report together that said that we were getting stuff organised.
But the cleaning is spot on. Whatever you've done down there is.
It could have been a timing thing, but we have increased frequency, particularly around busy periods.
That this tourism season, sorry.
Councillor Ladbrook.
Yes, so the smell, I believe, was from the cleaning chemicals more than anything else. It wasn't through bad hygiene or whatever. It was through the strong smell of the chemicals.
I think through the chair, it was the opposite, is that the cleaner themselves couldn't use other chemicals. So the chemicals that they were actually using were quite benign, and they weren't very capable in relation to odour resistance and stuff like that. And so some of the mitigations that have been put in place by the director are resolving that on a number of levels.
It's always been pretty clean. The last, the time.
Councillor Guthrie.
Yes, I can only comment on the female toilets, and I would also like to say that during Easter in the country, I was standing in a queue. There were a number of ladies there. We were all commenting on the smell. There was no commentary on the cleanliness. They were spotless, but it was just a very, very pervasive cleaning smell. I think having the Besser blocks there, I think people, even if it's cold, people only use the facilities for such a short period of time. I think the more important thing is to have the circulation of air and just make sure that fresh air is coming in. But there was no suggestion that the toilets weren't clean at all. It was just an underlying smell.
Okay, I'd like to move that council.
Can I, Mayor, can I just comment?
Please.
I also used, and I actually complimented the actual cleaner was there. The cleaning smell was fine by me, but most of our toilets have got an air gap at the bottom and at the top on those new prefab ones. So if anyone's going to be cold, it'll be those. So, and they allow the air to flow through manually. So if we've got to improve the brick ones to allow for that, I think it's a good thing.
Okay, so I'm going to move that council one, receive and note and support the report. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? I'll speak to it. I do believe that the feedback that I've had from people is that there has been a strong urine smell, probably more in the summertime than the wintertime, as well as obviously the cleaning products. This is a standard, I believe. I think we've just built a new toilet block and we've actually got ventilation in it. That's not mechanical ventilation, but just airflow. So I do support the report, and I do think that we should, this actually ties in what we've asked for. I do believe senior staff need to make decisions every day as far as operational parts of delivering our budget, but also making sure our facilities are welcoming for people. So I certainly support the report and look forward to improvements as it goes along, because this has been talked about for years. And, you know, sometimes we get sidetracked on doing everything but nothing, and I think we need to get on with doing and solving the issues. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Please go ahead.
I support that we need to do something at the Arthur Street car park toilets. A resolution was brought to council in December of last year that was very clear, and I'll be voting against this because of if we start to slip on our governance standards, we're not doing our job as councillors.
And through the chair, don't forget that you look at your capital every quarter when you do your budget review. So there's more than one way to make a decision about about an action of council. So just we're happy to do that homework for you.
Okay, now does anyone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak? In my opinion, I'll sum up. In my opinion, this does tick off the governance that we asked for a report. We've got the report back. The fact that officers may have solved some of the issues in the meantime, I think that's great. I don't think we should just be driven by a report. There's a lot of council that happens every day. And because we have decision makers now in place, I certainly believe that that is a very positive thing. So all those in favour of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division.
Through you, Mr Mayor, who was the seconder for that one?
Councillor Ladbrook. Okay, moving on. L1, Crime Prevention Program Support. I would like to move that Council 1 acknowledge resolution number SM/07.2021/01 to activate the allocated funds carried over in the 2022-23 budget to fund a 12-month program to sponsor a youth development officer / contractor to support an on-call 24/7 program to work with the youth in relation to the reduction of youth crime. 3, contract this program / project to the Roma Neighbourhood Centre Incorporated Association to deliver the program on council's behalf immediately. 4, authorise the Mayor and CEO to make final negotiations and execute any documents necessary. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
When you say sponsor a youth development officer or contract, are we employing somebody?
No, we will be handing over the budgeted amount of money that everyone is aware of to deliver the project.
So we're handing over the money to who? To the neighbourhood centre?
Roma Neighbourhood Centre to provide the youth development officer and do that. So
the Roma Neighbourhood Centre will employ the youth development
employ
officer?
or contract. So we've got employ or contract the position.
Okay, and if we're going to be handing over money to the Roma Neighbourhood Centre, we probably need to say how much in the resolution.
I'll check that with the CEO.
Can I ask, while we're waiting, does the Roma Neighbourhood Centre know about this?
Yes, they do, and it's been part of one of the reasons why we started advocating to start a neighbourhood centre. As you're aware, it's in their, lease agreements and so forth.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to point out it's an open document and it's already in the previous resolutions listed there on the bottom of page 2 with the dollar value in it, so.
Yeah, but I just think that it probably needs to be in the
No,
resolution
but
because it's...
he's looking for it, he can,
Oh, how much?
yeah,
So
it's on the bottom of page 2,
through
so.
the chair. Look, through the chair, just as a bit of housekeeping in the back end, I had some issues when I actually, with technical issues with the software and had to create the report for the mayor a number of times. So we do have it in the program and it could be included if the mayor's happy with that.
What
And
form?
activate the allocated funds of, and,
Yep.
$100,000
Yep.
would be the most appropriate place to put that.
Have we spent any of that $100,000?
Through the chair, no.
Not even when we set up the corporation?
No, through the chair, you had set up additional monies in relation to that around the incorporation. We, to a large extent, we did this work ourselves in kind, in-house at no cost. Any costs that were incurred were really around advice around the lease and the management agreement.
Okay, so I'll speak to the motion.
I've got a question.
Please go ahead.
So on page 3, the aim of the program, there's a number of dot points there which, not having the original resolution in front of me. Is that what the Roma Neighbourhood Centre are agreeing to?
We actually would need to make a decision of council and then go to them and see if they will accept, and that's why it's got.
So council's already budgeted 100. Wouldn't we ask the Roma Neighbourhood Centre to come to council with how they would deliver it and what it would look like, and then make a decision on the allocation of the funding?
Look, through the chair, it's the mayor's motion. I mean, certainly I sense in relation to the report a degree of urgency. So council has the right to, come up with its own ideas and say, look, we think this is the best use of the money, and negotiate with any other party in relation to that. You could do it another way, yes, but that's not the motion's proposing that council actually
Just
be
give
active.
them the money and then they work out how to do it?
No, we've got points in the report to say what we would like. Then
What are the key KPIs?
include key KPIs of reducing crime as a result of the individuals being able to see and choose a better future that does not include crime.
Yep.
Really simple. Okay, I'll speak to the motion. I believe this is urgency. As we know, more cars are being stolen. We've even had reports of very dangerous behaviour. It's a very big thing on the mind of the community of the Maranoa. It's also incredibly sad that we do not have any programs that deal with people outside the standard school system that are based on these parameters. There's plenty of programs, but they all do certain things. So the neighbourhood centre has been activated and is up and running, and I've had discussions with executive members just in general about this, and as they know, that was part of what the communications has been as far as the lease. So reducing crime is a big part of what council would like to see, and that decision has already been made. And activating this and getting it quickly in place will, I believe, hopefully, maybe even save some lives in the Maranoa in the future. So I think this is what we've got to do. It won't solve every single problem, but if it reduces it, it's a win for the community of the Maranoa. Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that we lay this on the table to have an urgent briefing with the Roma Neighbourhood Centre Incorporated Association to talk to them to understand how they're going to deliver this, because I actually support it. I actually just want to hear from them. $100,000 is a lot of money. I just want to be able to hear from them as to how
All
they do
those
it.
in favour?
Of laying it on the
Sorry,
table.
sorry, Councillor Edwards here. I lost connection there
Yep.
for a little while.
Okay.
What's
So-
happening?
Councillor
Sorry.
Hancock, we're on L1 Crime Prevention Program, and Councillor Hancock has moved to lay it on the table to hear from the neighbourhood centre.
To have an urgent briefing from the Roma Neighbourhood Centre.
We're going to the vote. All those in favour? All those against?
Against.
Against.
Okay, lost 3-6.
Okay.
Okay, so does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr Mayor, on the back of that, $100,000 is a lot of money to invest. Yes, we already have it in the budget, but it hasn't been decided on how that was going to be spent or some of the programs that it could be spent on. I'm actually supportive of a youth development worker, supportive that they can work out of the Roma Neighbourhood Centre. I'd actually just like to hear from the Roma Neighbourhood Centre directly. There is no representative from here. We do not have a letter attached to this. We do not know of what they can actually do, what's already here, where the gaps are. I just think that $100,000 is a lot of money to spend off a two-page report. So on the basis of that, I just can't support it.
Okay, would someone like to speak to the motion? Councillor Guthrie.
Back on the 21st of July 2021, I actually seconded the resolution that the project be included in the budget and $100,000 be allocated. And I'm seconding it again today because I am aware that Education Queensland have re-engagement officers that actually service Roma, but on a very infrequent basis. So they've got the programs and they've got all the skills. But if there was somebody or the ability to run programs in the Maranoa through the neighbourhood centre, I think there's actually an absolute wealth of work that's been done and expert people who can support. And I'm also aware of a lady who was the head of the Flexi School in Toowoomba who lives in Roma, who has had such a success in so many programs working with this particular clientele of young people who are disengaged from schooling. I think we've got the expertise here in our local community. We just need to be able to get it up and running and provide the money and then have a venue, etc., and somebody to oversee it. So I'm pretty confident that there's enough in the way of facilities, programs and projects, etc., that this will at least start something happening.
Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
I agree with everything Councillor Hancock said actually, so I don't have much to say except just seems to be another thing that we rush through, get it done, tick it off, and like I don't even know what the neighbourhood centre have done to date, let alone give them $100,000. And I too support trying to do something with the youth and all that goes with that, but it's just another thing that just goes past at 100 mile an hour instead of thinking about it, talking about it, and getting the people in the room that you're expecting to do the job. Like, I just can't support it either.
Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll speak against it only on the basis that a opportunity to meet with the Neighbourhood Centre Incorporated was denied. Councillor Hancock made it very clear that it would be on an urgent basis. That in fact could have been organised as quickly as tomorrow if parties were available. It's been in the budget since June of last year. We're now in April. I think councillors could have been afforded some time to meet with the Roma Neighbourhood Centre. I don't think you'll find a councillor in here that doesn't acknowledge that there is a problem, a crime problem with a particular age demographic at the moment, just not in Roma, but across Queensland. But we're not immune to it, and we're seeing it here. $100,000 is a huge amount of ratepayers' money, huge amount. And I think if you had supported the opportunity for us to meet with the Roma Neighbourhood Centre, it would have been a 9-0 vote to advance this once we'd sat down and were given the opportunity to meet with the group.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Okay, I'll sum up. I believe that this is more urgent than having more meetings. I think it's very simple. This has actually happened in the past. It can happen again now, and we can start focusing on reducing crime and giving these kids a vision of somewhere to head which is not stealing cars and doing things that is not in their own best interest. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division.
Sorry, Mayor, where has it happened in the past?
The neighbourhood centre used to have a youth officer there,
Employed by council.
by the neighbourhood centre. Yeah. In fact, there was 2 people at the original meeting that actually had experienced it many, many years ago.
And they on the committee now?
No, they're not. L2, Ratepayer Supplementary Notice Process.
Mayor, would you, just the time?
Okay, yeah, we'll break for morning tea, back in half an hour. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll resume the meeting. Can I have someone move
I'll move we deal with
procedural
L6
motions.
L6?
next.
Yep.
Seconder for that, do we probably don't need.
And what have we got?
Councillor Ladbroke,
11:07. 7.
any opposition? All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's
8-0.
8-0.
So I just have a question. With that, you apply to the, like Yulbar had, apply to the,
I haven't moved it yet, but yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
that's what you do.
Yep.
Apply to the,
I'll move the resolution. if
Yeah,
you like.
sure.
No one's got any questions?
I'll move the council advocate to the Queensland Department of Transport to undertake a traffic speed study through the town of Injune, specifically investigating safety benefits of reducing the speed.
Councillor Hancock seconding it. Anyone want to speak? Councillor O'Neill?
Thanks very much, Chair. This was raised at a recent councillor catch-up that I had in Injune. A number of residents raised, their concerns about the safety aspects of the speed through the centre of Injune, predominantly around the main businesses on the highway, and asked what council could do. And I said, well, we can play an advocacy role in putting this to the state government that they undertake a speed study, and that's why this resolution's before council today.
Anyone else want to speak for or against?
I think we just need a
I've just got a question.
No, we have. Great, thank you.
Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, bearing in mind this resolution, have we, are there any precedents set here? Have we done this before, and what's been the outcome of it if we have done it before? Would anyone be able to answer that?
Yeah, I can.
Councillor Hancock's going to speak, yes?
Happy
you.
to answer that, Councillor Edwards. Yes, precedent's has been set in Surat. So similar situation with the highway going through the middle of the town, and after many years of advocating, they reduced it from 60 to 50 going through the township of Surat.
And I can also add with this one.
Thank you.
Council staff have already been working on this in probably last 6 months, I suppose, probably more than 6 months, since I had when we were down there in Injune for we were for some meeting, and I went to the cuppa with a cop morning tea, and they were discussing it. Their staff was discussing
We've
it.
also
So,
advocated for Yulbar as well.
Yeah, okay. Yep,
Councillor Gussie?
thank you.
Can I just ask Councillor O'Neill if you would be amenable to maybe an amendment to put the words through the CBD or through the actual, because we do have reduced once you get past the almost the cemetery all the way up during school hours, where it's 40 kilometres the whole way down past the Bowls Club. So just to put down there through the CBD of Injune, just to be really clear, because if you start advocating for the whole of Injune, they'll say it's already 40 during school hours.
Yeah, during school hours. Outside of that, Councillor Guthrie, it reverts back to 60.
Yep.
And so I think they would take that into account. I mean, I think it's important to have a look at that whole area, because it wasn't just the CBD that was raised as a concern. it was near the hospital as well. And obviously that may be captured by the 40s,
That's
you're
40
saying.
during school hours.
But outside of that, it's not. So by saying that through the town of Injune, it's going to capture that element as well. But I take your point in
But why
school
don't you,
hours.
can I make another suggestion, another amendment? Noting, so after the speed, noting that there is a reduction during the school terms or something, because my concern is when you start doing this, their response will be, oh, we've already got. So by acknowledging in the resolution.
Sure. So after speed, noting that speed is reduced to 40 kilometres during school terms
Yeah. Yeah.
and school hours.
But
Yep, happy to include.
Should we be saying, what's the highway called? Caravan Highway?
Caravan Highway.
Because that includes the Taroom Road at the moment too.
Take a traffic speed study.
Study through the township of Injune on the Caravan
No,
Highway.
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
the issue is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got a mover and a second. Anyone else want to speak for or against? I'll put to vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Just
Yeah, great.
left you with two twice, and then-
Okay. Yeah, so through the chair, they did L5 first, from a procedural motion, and we're back to L2, which is page 4.
L2, Ratepayer Supplementary Notice Process. I'd like to move that a report be prepared for a future meeting incorporating how we can make ratepayers with supplementary notices aware of council's discount policy in relation to loss of capping and any ways in which we can intervene before the customer receives the notice so they do not receive a shock if there are significant changes. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen, any opposition?
Just got a question.
Please go ahead.
Madam CEO, do we actually have a policy that's called council's discount policy?
Well, through the chair, it's actually a resolution, but I think if the intention of the motion is that the resolution has become your policy, you refer to it as your policy in your briefings and things like that. So in essence,
So instead of using the word policy, procedure, council's discount.
decision
Decision?
through the chair.
Yeah, just because when you say policy,
Yep.
it looks like you want to go and look up a policy.
Look, through the chair, it's up to the mover of the motion in relation to that, whether you want that slightly adjusted. There is a current resolution. It helps you enact a discount or a concession. So it's up to you in relation to that.
So what is that? Where does that sit in our documents at the moment?
It's a resolution.
Righto, so decision would be fine.
Yep.
Is the second happy with decision?
Yes.
Righto. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? I'll speak for. I believe people are getting shocks when they get their supplementary notices, falling off the chair almost. So I think if there's any way that we can intervene, we did put letters in there, but I don't think they've really been successful. So I think we need to have a look at it, and this will allow the officers to be able to go and get the advice and find out how to do it, because rates are a pretty important thing to get right. Okay, so does anyone else wish to speak? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Okay, so L4, fixing the childcare crisis in the Maranoa. I'd like to move that in order to support new capacity for childcare in the Maranoa, that council one, seek expression of interest from individual and organisations to bring forward written proposals that bring on extra capacity, new or expanded offerings for childcare within the Maranoa. A, as part of these proposals, the proposals explain existing barriers and challenges, financial or otherwise, to facilitate childcare outcomes, including potential solutions so that council can consider how it can assist these solutions. 2, delegate to the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to broadcast this request across all forms of media and bring a report back to council with the overview of proposals to a future meeting. And I might actually put in there all forms of local media in point 2.
Excuse me, Chair, I'm not sure if it's my connection, but I can't hear you properly.
Right, sorry about that. So local media I've just put in there to clarify. Do we have a seconder for this motion?
Can I have just a quick question?
Please go ahead.
In point 2, where you say overview of proposals to a future meeting, could it not be a future briefing so that we know what's...
Oh, well, it can. I don't mind it. Some of our meetings haven't been going a long time, so it'll be enclosed anyway because it's financial, I would believe in.
Up to you, just asking.
Yeah, well, I'd keep it open and depends how many and whatever, so we could put in there, where have I got? Future meeting or briefing. Is the seconder happy with that? Oh, sorry. Okay, do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ladbroke, you're happy with that? Please go ahead, Councillor Hancock.
I have another question. Mr Mayor, what are you trying to ask them for? Is this existing providers? Is it
Yeah, it's in there. It actually says existing for new capacity. So it could be someone, for instance, just needs a building and can provide more childcare. They don't have issues with staff or whatever. It could be, home daycare might have some barriers in being able to do it. It could be any forms of the sector, but it's about extra or new capacity or increased capacity. There was one person I was talking to that, had a plan to do something in the future. There may be many opportunities in the community that people are looking at, and we know that childcare is actually a barrier for people coming to the region. So, it's actually, really digging that out and saying then council will have to decide how they could advocate or support. It could be someone needing a grant to do something and we could help them with it, or all of those things. Okay, so I'll speak to this. Childcare is one of the big ones with housing in the region, and it's actually affecting people not being able to operate the hours of work that they would like to, or even coming to the region, because, the feedback that you've got is that if you're planning a family, you've got to book in before you've sort of had the family to get childcare, which is pretty full on. So we really need to do better than that, and this is a way to actually glean from the community what barriers, and if they could be solved, what new capacity could we get for childcare in the Maranoa? Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie?
I'd like to also encourage that we access the Maranoa and Western Downs childcare study that was actually presented. I was part of a teleconference with that back on the 23rd of March. A wealth of work has gone into that. They've interviewed all of our local childcare providers who have identified the barrier. So a lot of what you're asking for is actually been consolidated into a report, and then maybe that could use that as the starting point to then go ahead and say, well, then how did we solve it, or what options are available? But to me, I would be remiss not to say that there's been a wealth of work put into a very, very comprehensive childcare study already this year.
Right, Aiden, does anyone else wish to speak?
So do you put an amendment in there?
No, I'm just...
I think that's a great thing.
I just think it was presented, it was a 2-hour teleconference, and it was a great summary and had graphs, and they interviewed all of our childcare providers, and it gave us a context, as in Maranoa, but within the Western Downs as well. So there was nothing earth-shatteringly new, but it was just well put together. So I'm not seeking, Mr Mayor, to put it in as an additional, but just
Righto.
making note of the fact that there has been a lot of work done.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? And we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. L5,
L4.
L4.
We just did our
No, change the numbers because
Yeah.
they dropped one out, I
Yeah.
think. Kel's changed them up there, I think, yeah.
Trees.
We had a double it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's what's happened.
Yes.
Okay, L4, request for audit, for safety audit of trees within the Injune Township. I would like to move that, that council, conduct a safety audit of trees within the Injune Township with specific reference, but not limited to, the hospital and school corners in relation to their, visibility, it should be, I think.
No, through the chair, just in the back end discussion about it being in the public agenda, is what the local area director said is that some trees that are creating problems as well aren't viable; they're actually dying. So that the wording viability
Okay,
and
that's what
safety
it's
is in there because
Right.
you have the ability to audit and see what trees are dead.
Right, okay. Viability and safety, including the potential for relocation of identified unsafe trees to allow, to another location. 2, request that this report be provided to a future council meeting. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone speak to it? It's been raised multiple times with me about safety, and people are worried that there could be a tragedy, so I think that it's something that, if it's supported, that council can request this work happen ASAP. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the, please go ahead.
I thought no one wanted to go against, but no. I'd just like to comment too, Mr Mayor, I had a discussion some time back out there and with the police officer and the issue he's finding, he's gone to chastise, I don't know what you call it, to move people on that are parked illegally, and the first thing, well, there's no signs. Yes, it is, it's in behind that tree, yeah. So I think it's time, they didn't see it, but he knew it. He wasn't, you know, he had to point out to them, but it's there, so he said, how can you keep moving people on when there's trees covering the sign? That was the effect of what he said, yeah.
Through the chair, as part of the audit, make sure we check
Yeah.
visibility. Yeah.
Okay, then on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
9-0. Yep, please go ahead. Okay, so do we have anyone to go into?
Are you going to do this one here? This is your.
Oh, well, I'd move my motion without notice now, Mr Mayor, I suppose.
Go ahead.
Forgot about that. Could you bring that up when you're ready, please, Kel, save me?
What's it called? L6, is it?
Yeah.
L6, water for the Hodgson Cemetery.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the associated costs for the polypipe, the water meter and associated valves and an annual fee of $401 per annum, $401 required under the current water agreement to supply water to the Hodgson Cemetery. Enter into an agreement with the relevant landholder in relation to access from the pipeline. 3, council be excluded from supplying a tank as per standard conditions of the water agreement. And 4, funds to be drawn from work order 14156, cemetery operations in Hodgson Cemetery. Mr Mayor, I'll just go back to dot point 1. I just want to put in there that that's for materials only. The work's going to be done voluntary, I don't know, required
The associated material costs.
material costs, yeah. Materials, yeah, that'll do. Approve the associated costs, material costs for the polypipe, water meter, associated valves and the annual fee of $401 required under the current water agreement to supply water to the Hodgson Cemetery.
So we make it very clear in one about what that council pays the $401?
Yeah, well, this council
It says
approved the
that-
cost.
That
I've
council,
got that in there, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
through the chair.
Yeah, right, okay, because, yeah, we need to pay it, yeah.
Yeah.
Righto, do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to
Hi,
it?
Mr. I just think this is a relatively small amount of money, I believe, in the mix of it all, and our volunteer's been there 30 years, and as I said in my letter, you know, he's up to 85 trees he's planted. He is carting water in a 100 litre pod, so this will probably make it a bit easier for him, as well it will make it a bit easier for him to do his job, or do his voluntary job.
Okay, yeah, I'll be certainly supporting this. I think what the resident does out there is just absolutely fantastic, looking after a local asset for the community in the cemetery, and any way that we can support that is very, very important, and this makes common sense to do it at the same time, so certainly be supporting this, to make it easier for a volunteer and also beneficial for Hodgson Cemetery.
Just a quick question to myself, Mr. CEO, if this resolution's passed, it'll process through to the relevant people just to buy, like, maybe the rural lands team would know what all the valves are to purchase them and.
Yeah, certainly through.
That'll be operational?
Yeah, certainly through the chair, councillor, we will. In essence, if we had owned the pipeline, we could have done this quite nicely ourselves. It's just that because the pipelines are actually put in by a third party, the landholder, and we're also asking that as part of our standard agreements, we actually ask our landholders to supply a tank. So the advantage of the resolution to council is that should there ever be a dispute further down the track, you've got a clear footprint around why and how.
Righto, so we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Righto, if we don't have anything further, then do we have someone to move into close?
I don't know if there is, but do you need to call for conflicts before we go?
Do we have any conflicts?
We would have one,
He's not here.
but he's not here.
Mr. Mayor, can I also move a change of order that we deal with 16.6 first, and before the councillor comes back, save him leaving again?
But he hasn't done his conflict.
But he won't be here. He's left the meeting.
What's
So which is 16?
16.6, isn't it, I think, or did I get that?
C6.
I see 6, sorry. Conflicts, apologies. I thought it was 16.
Oh, there's an item number 16.4.
No, C6, sorry.
And through the chair, the councillor has raised the conflict with the minute taker myself.
Yeah. He'll be a couple of hours, I believe, that's why I thought we...
Yeah, well, we've got to go into closed anyway.
No, but I mean, if we were gonna...
The order. So you've moved that, you changed the order of C6 to be dealt with first in the order of confidential business.
Yes, please, that's one.
Yeah. Okay, we have a seconder, councillor O'Neill. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Okay, do any conflicts? Otherwise, do we have someone to move into closed? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move in accordance with the provisions.
I'll put over here on George.
Section 254J3, the Local Government Regulation 2012. Council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items its councillors consider is necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with Section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed and an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. C1, 2022-23 Q3 Budget Review. C2, Draft 23-24 Capital Projects. C3, Application Rates Payment Arrangement Assessment 14024012. C4, Options to provide food and beverage services at the Roma Airport. C5, Termination of Injune Caravan Park Management Agreement. C6, Unlicensed Installation Road Reserve adjacent to Lot Plan 389 FTY 1024 and 29 SP 252074. LC1 recent sale of fleet. LC2 Major Mitchell Caravan Park lease.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Okay, we're in close. Dealing with C6, unlicensed installation.
Well, that's where I got a mistake, why I said 16, mine marked at 16.6.
16.6.
Same here.
That's right, that's why I was going. Mr Mayor, I'll move.
I'll just finish the heading. Unlicensed installation, road reserve adjacent lot plan 389 FTY 1024 and 29 SP 252074. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council acknowledge receipt of the letter dated 23rd of October 2022 and advise the complainant that an upgrade to the wire gate has occurred.
Councillor McMullen, should we call that the landowner?
No, we're not writing the landowner, we're writing.
No, but
What about
instead
the
of a
letter writer?
complainant, just call him
Letter writer.
letter writer or, you know, just
Resident.
resident, if you know what I mean. Just a
Okay,
different
well,
word for
advise
the
that-
same thing, but
That council acknowledge receipt of the letter dated 23rd of October 2022 and advise the resident that an upgrade to the wire gate has occurred.
I'll second that. Councillor Hancock?
Can I call for an adjournment, please?
Yep, please. We'll
go
break
to the
for a
vote.
minute. Okay. So we've called for an adjournment. Righto,
we're-
we'll keep going.
12.
Okay, Councillor McMullen,
Well,
you've moved it.
I've moved it, you've seconded it?
Yep, so does anyone wish to speak to it?
Mr.
Yep.
Mr Mayor, I just think, what I'm going to say, I've got to be careful what I say, but this is,
Common sense.
we just need to address this the best way we can because the infrastructure mentioned in this report is not on a council gazetted road. It's on a road reserve which council manage, but it's not on one of our gazetted roads.
Okay, so anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0.
I move we go back into close.
We have a seconder. Councillor McMullen, all those in favour?
No, he's away. He had to go for a couple of hours, that's why we did it.
Was there two online that were in
Yes.
favour of going to closed?
Yes.
Thank you. So we're in closed now.
Item 45, upgrade works at Roma Rural Student Hostel, requested by community organisation, requests driveway. It's a prescribed conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, any other conflicts? Councillor Ladbroke?
I have conflict with C2, description draft.
You'll need all your line items.
Yeah, Kelly's got them.
Oh, Kelvin, sorry.
Yeah, you're on board there, Councillor McMullen. Description is draft 2023-24 capital projects, declaring councillor, if myself, Councillor Ladbroke, and the person of interest is myself and my wife Alana Ladbroke. Particulars of interest: I am a committee member of the Roma Turf Club and my wife is president of the Roma Show Society. Both organisations are users of Bassett's Park facility. I have a conflict with line item 42, Bassett's Park General Capital Works Program, external funding, pending approvals, and line 44, Roma Girl Guides Building, Capital Works. And the type of conflict is a prescribed conflict of interest, and The actions I'll take, I'll leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Okay, any other conflicts?
I move we go into closed.
Righto.
Just through the chair, sorry, to do that too, just, is that I'm looking at, item number 1, and, I just recalled that Councillor Edwards did discuss, because he didn't have a digital version, whether there was the potential for a conflict, and I do note that item 1 does talk about providing safe taxi access for the RFDS from their hangar to the runway, estimated $500,000. The current budget allocation is $300,000. Is there the potential for a conflict with that item?
We're in open at the moment.
It's just that the councillor was unsure whether that matter referred to anything that might be associated with another matter he has a conflict with.
Councillor Edwards on the line.
I don't know whether, have we got Councillor Edwards? Can you see whether he's dialed back in?
Yeah, he's there. Well, he's down here.
Is
Okay, Councillor
John-
Edwards, are you
John
there?
is here? Yeah. Look, we'll just grab the manager for airports, who's probably the best person to explain that to us.
When I talked to him, he said if it's RFDS, it's not a conflict.
Okay, right, okay, so that,
So I've moved we go into closed.
yes.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. All those in favour? 7-0. Okay,
I have a conflict of interest on C5.
Councillor Ladbroke, we're out of closed. Councillor Taylor's doing a conflict.
The description is termination of the Injune Caravan Park Management Agreement. The declaring councillor is Wendy Taylor. The person of interest is myself. I am the treasurer of the Roma Clay Target Club. The particulars of interest is because this has something to do with the caravan park and the Roma Clay Target Club have a caravan park. I could be seen to have a conflict, so I will cause a prescribed conflict of interest and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Well, it's probably declarable.
Sorry?
It's probably a declarable.
Declarable when
Oh,
you're.
And you can leave
Sorry.
it to the,
I was just
the rest of
reading
the
off
room if you
something,
wish.
yeah.
And then you make a decision whether you want to.
I'll go out of the room, it's okay.
Okay, so any other conflicts? So, okay, do we have someone to go back into closed?
Go to close.
Hancock, do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. All those in favour? 6-0.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in LC2, Major Mitchell Caravan Park Lease. The declaring councillor is Councillor Wendy Taylor. The person of interest, a related party, is the Roma Clay Target Club. As I'm the treasurer of the Roma Clay Target Club, as this has to do with the caravan park and due to the Roma Clay Target Club being a caravan park, it could be perceived I have a conflict. It's a declarable conflict of interest and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Excellent.
I move we go into closed.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. All those in favour? 6-0. Okay, so we're on to C1, Quarter 3 Budget Review. Do we have a mover? I'd like to move that Council 1 adopt the Quarter 3 2022-23 revised budget as presented. 2, adopt the revised financial statements for 22-23, budget amendments as shown in the report's attachments. Do I need to say the rest of it?
Yep.
Revised budget financial statements 22-23 and following 2 years. Revised budget financial statements 22-23 and following 9 years. Revised financial sustainability ratio 22-23. Total of value of change in rates and charges, and the documents be placed on the council website. at www.maranoa.qld.gov.au/council/budgets. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Oh, I've got opposition, thanks. Mr.
Righto. I'll speak. Certainly something that we need to do. It's good to see there's some improvements in business units, but obviously there's also challenges as we face in council. Would you like to speak against the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Whilst I support some of the projects that are being put up in the Q3 review, especially the financial support that's going to be given to the Wallumbilla Tennis Court, I think that's a fantastic project that's being put up in the Q3 review, and will give financial support to a really important community infrastructure in Wallumbilla. So I fully support that. I just can't support the Q3 budget because in the Q3 budget, there is a removal of a budget item which is associated to removal of a position within the organisational structure, and the removal of that position under the Q3 revised budget and the budget allowance that goes with that position, I do not support, and so therefore I can't support the Q3 revised budget as presented.
Look, through the chair, I would say that it's not quite accurate. We're actually taking savings in relation to overall payroll expenditure. If positions are reshaped, the budget's still there. The budget's still there. It just changes its label. The position hasn't been taken from the structure. It's not unfunded. What we're doing is taking savings from our current payroll bill, if you will, that are unlikely to be expended between the 31st of March and the 30th of June, and that's what we're taking back as part of Q3.
Okay, so does anyone wish to speak against the motion or for the motion?
So, Mr Mayor, I'll just adjust that just to make sure that, so what I am against is that I acknowledge what the CEO just said, and thanks for clarifying that, but there is still money that hasn't been spent that's being adjusted out of this budget attached to a position in council that hasn't been replaced, so I understand that, but it hasn't been replaced, and I think it should be, so.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion, against? I'll sum up. Just clarifying, the position I believe is still in the org structure. There is many positions of council, staff positions, that are not filled. That's the prerogative of the CEO to fill positions in the org structure, but I think it's actually to do with the actual funding of savings out of positions that are not filled. So I'll certainly be supporting the Q3 budget review. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 4-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to C2. C2, draft 23/24 capital projects. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that.
There's a bit more to the subject heading. There's a bit more to the subject heading.
Yeah, you'll probably have to read off the screen, Mr Mayor, for these
Oh
ones.
yeah, that's changed.
Because,
Yeah.
Okay, so I might say subject heading 23/24 capital projects excluding line items 42, 46 and 45 appendix 1.
44.
Sorry, 42, 44 and 45 appendix 1.
Sounds like someone's just joined us too.
Okay, anybody
Yep.
on?
Yeah, I just got back. Sorry.
Excellent.
The leading bus driver.
Okay, so we're doing C2 draft. Did you hear that? Draft capital projects.
I just caught you had to reread it. That was what I caught.
And can you see it on the screen?
Yep. Is this the one that I've got a conflict in, but?
So it's everything except with the conflicts one, Councillor Burkett, so no.
So 42, 44 and 45 covers one of mine.
No, Councillor Burkett wasn't here.
I put in a conflict before I left.
Yeah, you got to be here to declare it.
Just through the chair, I'll just have a quick reflection of
actually.
that. Yeah. You're still in open?
Yeah, so do you want to declare your conflict?
Yeah,
What is it?
I wasn't sure on the line item, the number, so I just put
Was it,
the line item. Did you get it, Kel?
was it 26? Yeah, 26.
Well, that's what I said to start with, but you said it wasn't the right number.
Through the chair, yes, that's still the same number. 26 is the correct number. Mitchell RSL upgrade.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I'll go email and I'll read it out. So, yep. So item C2, description draft 2023-24 capital projects, declaring councillors John Burkett, the person of conflicts, person with the interest is myself. Particulars on I am the president of the Mitchell RSL and Combined Sports Club, and I haven't updated that. And the Mitchell RSL kitchen is in one of the projects to be. And it's a declarable conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the line item is discussed and voted on.
So, just Mr Mayor, if we just add item 26 to the one we're doing, that will be everything but the ones with conflicts, if that helps.
And sorry, Kel, I didn't send the right part of it, so the one I sent to you.
And then we'll just have to add that one into another one.
Okay, so do we have to move a motion to change the title or the items, or not really?
Just put item 26 up in the
We
subject
didn't
heading.
before.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so I'll just go over, we've just added to the subject heading, draft 23-24 capital projects, excluding line items 26, 42, 44 and 45. Appendix 1. Okay, that's what we're deciding. Excluding those, we're deciding the rest of Q3. Okay, so we had a mover, Councillor McMullen. Do we have a seconder?
Probably just need to get councillor McMullen to move that again, because we've
Yeah,
added
go on.
it in.
I move that the draft 2023-24 capital budget projects, Appendix 1, excluding line items 26, 42, 44 and 45 be included in the next stage of the 2023-24 budget preparations. I think that's right, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we had a seconder from Councillor Guthrie, I believe. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
7-0.
8-0.
8-0, sorry.
No worries.
Going with the meeting. C2B, draft 2023-24 capital projects, line items 42 and 44 only, Appendix 1. Do we have a move? Oh, Councillor Ladbrook, I believe that's your conflict and you've already declared that. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mayor, I'll move that. Where's the resolution?
That line
Just
item.
Line items 42 and 44 of the draft 2023-24 capital projects budget, Appendix A, be included in the next stage of the 2023-24 budget preparations.
Appendix 1.
Appendix 1.
Just through the chair, I just have a little problem with that. Is this motion, just to just confirm, is we're moving line item 42 and 44, except line item 44 is 42 is Bassett Park General Capital Works Program. I'm just noting the mover, and just wondering whether what we need is that really is the intent of this motion actually to exclude 42?
No, we're putting them in.
That's where you've already got an existing conflict.
No.
Oh, was it Councillor
George
Ladbrook?
is
That's
out,
fine.
yeah, I know.
So, my apologies, Councillor.
yeah.
My apologies.
So,
Righto, so we'll
Okay.
keep going. So we get a seconder. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 6-0.
Yes.
7-0.
Great. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we can get Councillor Ladbrook
Ladbrook
back.
in.
Okay, the next one,
Will be line item 45.
okay, C2, C, draft 23-24 capital projects, line item 45 only, appendix 1.
Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4.
We've got enough here.
Yes, we have.
So councillor Taylor, O'Neill and Guthrie have left the room. So do we have a mover?
I'll move, Mr Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Line item 45 of the draft 2023-24 capital projects budget appendix 1 be included in the next stage of the 2023-24 budget preparations.
Okay, we have a second, councillor Hancock. Councillor Burkett, you're online, aren't you?
Yes.
That's good. Just want to make sure we got a quorum. Okay, so we're going to go to the vote if no one wants to speak. All those in favour?
Yes.
5-0. Okay.
You young fellas.
Well done.
Kind of him.
I would have thought you'd have stood up there so I could wave to you before instead of...
Julie said to continue with that.
Righto.
It'll be on the screen again, Mr Mayor. We're still going through
Got to
them
keep
all.
on going.
We'll get another one.
Got
Okay.
a couple more.
C2D, draft 23-24 capital projects, line items 109 and 110 and appendix 2. Councillor Hancock.
Can I ask?
I'm-
Sorry, can I ask what 09 and 110 are again, please?
They'll be on your sheet.
And through the chair, they were bitumen widening for two streets, Ivan Street and William Street in Surat,
Rat project.
totalling
All right,
amount
thank
of
you.
175 and 100,000 respectively.
I move that
Thank you.
line items 109 and 110 of the draft 2023-24 capital projects budget appendix 2 be included in the next stage of the 2023-24 budget preparations.
I'll second that. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Okay, righto, one more. C2E, draft 23-24 capital projects, new item, Roma and District Tennis Courts Incorporated project. Do we have a mover? Well, I think councillor O'Neill was first. Please go ahead.
I'll move that the new project, Roma District Tennis Courts Incorporated project, be included in the next stage of the 23-24 budget preparations with a project estimate of 250,000.
Just saying.
Okay, we have a second, councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
We should be specific for, we need to be a bit specific, I think, for grant funding if they're going to use this resolution.
Roma's Tennis Courts Inc. Squash Court project?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need to say what it is.
Yep.
But not the new, it's the new project, yeah.
So I'm happy to include that.
Righto, is the seconder happy?
All good thing.
Righto, we're going to the vote. If no one wants to speak, all those in favour?
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Any more?
Roma Cemetery, yes. One more.
Okay. C2F, draft 23-24 capital projects, new item, Roma Railway Historical Cemetery project. I'd like to move that council, the new project, Roma Railway Historical Cemetery project, be included in the next stage of the 23-24 budget preparations with a project budget preparation with project estimate of 20,000. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Any more? Okay.
Is there any more?
What's the next one?
This is line item 26, so this will be
Oh, yeah.
G.
Okay. Righto. Draft 23-24 capital projects, line item G.
26.
Line
Oh.
item 26 only, which is
I'll
going to
leave.
be...
Oh,
I'll leave the room.
Righto, that's a G in there somewhere, is it, Kel? Yep.
It will be.
Righto. Councillor Burkett, don't be long.
I'll text you straight away, Burgo.
Okay, so councillor Burkett's left the room. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen?
I'll move, Mr Mayor, that that line item 26 of the draft 2023-24 capital projects budget, Appendix 1, be included in the next stage of the 2023-24 budget preparation.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0.
Yes.
Any more, Kel?
That is it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so moving on,
I've sent him a text, so
Yes.
C3, page
give me the thumbs
49.
up. So.
That was a long time happening, that little report.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Oh, that's good. C3, application for a rate payment arrangement, assessment number 140240012. Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the applicant's payment arrangement as proposed. 2, advise the ratepayer that the next two levies of rates for assessment 140240012 will be included in this payment arrangement. And 3, will continue with the rate debt recovery process should the ratepayer fail to make the required proposed payments to reduce the outstanding debt.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0.
Page 58.
Okay, page 58, C5, option to provide food and beverage services at Roma Airport. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 receive and note the officer's report. 2, authorise the CEO or delegate to negotiate a 4-month licence agreement to manage and operate the Roma Airport Cafe at $1,000 per week. 3, authorise the CEO or delegate to meet with the operator and review long-term viability at the end of the 3-month period, and a report be provided at a subsequent council meeting. And 4, ensure any financial arrangements for the existing operator are consistent with the above and finalised prior to exit.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Do we need, we're going to go to the vote then. Does anyone wish to speak? If not, we're going, please go ahead.
I think it is imperative that we look at this arrangement to ensure that we are providing some level of cafe at the Roma Airport. Substantial investments have occurred at the Roma Airport since 2010, and they are proudly, until recent times, funded by the operation of the airport. And I think we need to ensure not only are our visitors comfortable when they're coming in and going out of our Roma airport, but also our community. And providing a cafe service will do just that. I think the approach that we've made to a local business to encourage them to take the step and help us do that in providing a cafe and food and beverage services at the airport is a good one, and I hope it is an utter success, and that when we get the report back in 3 months, it's been a glowing endorsement. But I recognise that we are now having to support, as we have in the past, the provider, but that will be the cost in being able to provide this service to our community.
Does anyone else wish to speak? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
8-0. Righto. So C5, termination of Injune Caravan Park Management Agreement. Councillor McMullen.
Councillor Taylor's leaving the room.
Oh, that's right. We've got a conflict. Councillor Taylor has left the room. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 receive notice that 18 Proprietary Limited are terminating their management agreement for operation of the Injune Caravan Park as of 17th of July 2023. 2, invite expressions of interest to operate the Injune Caravan Park under a management agreement and include plans to grow the business.
Okay, so we have a second of councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be down to 7-0.
Yeah, 7-0. Yep.
Who seconded it?
LC one.
No.
Never done that.
Okay, LC1, recent sale of fleet. The mover, councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 receive and note the report. 2, accept the counter offer of $42,500 for plant 513, sold as lot 44, 2007 Western Star 4800 6x4 side tipper truck for the amended purchase price due to the conditions of the asset. And 3, return balance of funds to the purchaser between the amended sale price of $42,500 and the amount paid less any associated premiums if relevant.
We have a seconder, councillor Ladbroke.
Too late, Virgo.
Righto, does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Any opposition? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Okay, that's 8-0. Right, LC2. Major Mitchell Caravan Park lease. I'd like to move that.
We have a
Oh,
conflict.
we got another conflict, that's correct. I'd like to move that council receive and note the report, and 2, CEO or delegate explain options that are available, or how do we say that the request is not available, but other options are available.
To be considered for consideration.
Yeah, sorry,
You go.
certainly,
But I'll go and pass.
Mayor, can I make the suggestion
to the,
for moving it? The council council receive and note the report. 2, council decline the request. 3, authorise the CEO or delegate to meet with lessees to explain council's decision.
yes.
Yeah, well, what I want to put in there is the options available.
To explain any option, to
Yeah.
explain
So I'm
council's
happy to
decision
decline the request, because that is because we can't do it.
and options available
Yeah, any options available.
in response to their request.
So authorise the CEO delegate to meet with the lessees. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'd like to move that council receive and note the report, decline the request, authorise the CEO or delegate to meet with the lessees to explain council's decision, explain any options available in response to their request. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke, any opposition?
Too late, Virgo.
Well, are you happy if councillor Burkett does it?
We can do.
Look in.
Councillor Burkett?
Oh, you're so gracious, councillor Ladbroke. Yes, I'll second that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Now, does anyone wish to speak against or for the motion? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Okay, so
We'll
we're
have
at,
to get Wendy, councillor Taylor back.
And that
yeah,
is,
we're 7-0.
yes.
Kel, we haven't missed anything, Kel? All good?
You've done a great job, Kel.
As always, it's always keeping up with everyone.
Okay, if there's no further business, councillors, I will close the meeting at 4:42 p.m. and thank you for your attendance.